He's been walking through these gates every day for 8 years. But Osman Mirghani, who runs his own daily newspaper, Al Tayyar, says a lot has changed and not for the better. He now has fewer staff because he can't afford to pay them all. Editions of his paper have been stopped from going on sale more than 20 times in the past year, 4 times just this month.
Press freedom in Sudan depends on the political atmosphere. When we started working in the 90s, the freedom was much more than it is now. There are a lot of restrictions the government uses, like confiscating the papers after printing to cause economic loss, stopping some articles from being published, restricting the movements of journalists. It comes down to the political scene with no regard to the media laws.
Al Tayyar is one of more than half a dozen newspapers which were confiscated before hitting Sudan's streets in the past 12 months. Editors say national security agents at printing press houses confiscate editions that contain stories critical of the government. Some newspaper readers now turn to the internet to find out what's going on in the country.
I open social media and check what's there. Then I go to the websites. I check several websites that can give me the correct news that I believe is factual.
There's nothing you can do. When the papers are confiscated, you can't get a chance to go through the news, so we turn to the internet and see what's there.
The international organization, Reporters Without Borders, ranks Sudan 174th out of 180 countries on its Press Freedom Index. And there are concerns it's about to get even tougher for journalists in Sudan to do their job. Members of Parliament are deliberating a bill to allow national security agents to shut down newspapers, radio stations and TV stations for 15 days without citing any reason. And if that bill becomes law, Sudan's Press Council would have the power to indefinitely ban any journalists who write or broadcast anything that opposes government policies. The 8 journalists detained this month were covering protests over hiked bread prices. The government failed to respond to requests for comment on the arrests or on the freedom of the press.
The right way to regulate the press is through the courts, since there are laws, more than a single law. Confiscating papers or things like that is not a good idea, and journalists who are detained should be presented to court, and if they have any fault, they should bear responsibility. But they shouldn't be put in jail without any clear charge directed.
For editors like Osman, the concern is not about being charged for what they report on, but being prevented from reporting in the first place, and the shutting down of any outlet that doesn't follow government lines. Hiba Morgan, Al Jazeera, Khartoum.